I've been invisible in two worlds for 3 years. That's the truth of working at Hanguk Gwan, an upscale Korean restaurant in the heart of Los Angeles, where power brokers and businessmen conduct deals over banchan and soju. I've learned to move between tables like smoke, present but unnoticed, hands delivering plates of galbegium so tender it melts on the tongue, pouring wine that costs more than my monthly rent, clearing glasses still warm from expensive whiskey. The restaurant is all dark wood and paper screens, slate floors, and low lighting designed for discretion, where men in tailored suits speak in Korean and English and the universal language of money-changing hands without ever being mentioned. I'm invisible here because I'm the help, because I'm a woman serving men, because I'm white and Hispanic in a space that belongs to Korean power. I exist to anticipate needs, refresh drinks, and disappear before anyone has to acknowledge I was there at all. Jae-hun Won is a presence I've learned to read like weather patterns. I know his footsteps in the corridor before he rounds the corner. Deliberate, unhurried. The pace of a man who's never had to rush for anyone. I catch him in peripheral vision. Dark hair styled with precision, suits that probably cost more than I make in 3 months, wire-rimmed glasses that make him look more intellectual than threatening, until you see his eyes. Dark, calculating, missing nothing. He takes meetings in the private rooms with men who bow slightly when greeting him and leave through different exits than they entered. I clear their tables afterward, collect napkins folded with nervous precision, wipe down surfaces that still carry the weight of conversations I'll never understand. I don't ask questions. That's not my job. My job is to pour water, smile politely, and vanish the moment I'm not needed. The only constant that makes this bearable is Elena. My daughter is 6 years old, with dark curls that tangle no matter how carefully I braid them, and questions that never stop coming. She's with the neighbor, Mrs. Chen, who charges $20 for evening babysitting I can barely afford but need desperately, while I work Friday and Saturday nights. Every shift, I check my phone between tables. Photos Elena draws, messages Mrs. Chen sends. She ate all her carrots. Bedtime story done, she's asking for you. My daughter smells like strawberry shampoo and childhood. And she thinks I work at the fancy restaurant where Mama brings home special cookies sometimes. She doesn't know those cookies are mistakes from the kitchen that would be thrown away anyway. We live in a one-bedroom apartment in Koreatown. Technically, Elena has the bedroom, and I sleep on the sofa bed I fold up every morning before getting her ready for school. Thin walls, a radiator that clangs like it's angry, neighbors whose television is always too loud, but the deadbolt works, and the landlord doesn't ask too many questions, and it's 3 blocks from a decent elementary school. Rent is $1,850 a month, which sounds impossible until you realize it actually is impossible, which is why I work doubles every weekend and pick up every extra shift the restaurant offers. Because Elena's father left before she was born, and there's no backup plan. Because tips from serving powerful men, their $200 dinners, are what stand between us and eviction. Because I learned 3 years ago that survival means working until your feet go numb and accepting that exhaustion is just part of breathing now. So I serve. I smile. I pour. I accept overtime without hesitation. Friday evening, the grandfather clock in the main dining room, an antique imported from Seoul, or so I've heard, chimes 7 times as I finish setting up the private room for tonight's reservation. My lower back aches from carrying heavy trays all week, and my right hand has that familiar cramping from gripping serving platters. November in Los Angeles means darkness comes earlier, and through the paper screens, I can see headlights starting to stream down Wilshire Boulevard. "You're on the private room tonight?" Jin-hee, one of the other servers, asks in passing, adjusting her own black apron. "Yeah, Mr. Wan's party." She gives me a look that's part sympathy, part warning. "Big one, 8 guests, don't mess it up." "I won't." "You look tired, Sabelle." "I'm fine. I'm always fine. Fine means Elena gets breakfast tomorrow. Fine means I can pay this week's childcare. Fine means we survive another month. Jin-hee touches my shoulder briefly, the closest anyone here gets to friendship. The tips will be good tonight at least. She's right. Men like Jae-hoon-won tip well, not from generosity, but from habit, the way they expect perfect service and compensate accordingly. I'm counting on at least $200 from tonight, maybe $250 if everything goes perfectly. I need $340 by Tuesday for rent, and I'm still short. So tonight has to be perfect. I don't know yet that in 3 hours I'll shatter my own invisibility in a way I can never repair, that I'll cross a line I've spent 3 years learning never to approach. I don't know that the seating arrangement I'm perfecting right now, these 8 chairs positioned around the table with geometric precision, will be the thing that changes everything. I just know I need the money, and I need to get home to Elena. The private room fills exactly as expected. Jae-hoon-won arrives first, as he always does, early enough to survey the space, to choose his seat with the wall behind him and the door in his sightline. He doesn't acknowledge me when I pour his water, ice clinking softly against glass. I'm furniture, wallpaper. This is how it should be. The other guests arrive in intervals. I recognize faces from previous dinners. An older man with silver hair who speaks little. A younger associate who laughs too loudly at things that aren't funny. 2 businessmen in identical navy suits. They settle into their chairs with the casual confidence of men accustomed to spaces like this, to being served, to making decisions that move money I'll never see. I take drink orders, bring appetizers, refill water glasses before they're half empty. Jae-hoon-won sits at the head of the table, his presence anchoring the room without effort. When he speaks, the others lean in. When he's silent, they wait. I've watched this dynamic dozens of times, the quiet authority, the way power doesn't need volume. The first course is nearly ready when Manager Cho appears in the doorway, his expression tight. "One more guest," he says in Korean, then catches himself. "Sabel-si, we need another chair." My stomach sinks. 8 was already a full table. 9 means rearranging everything. Of course. I bow slightly, already calculating how to adjust the spacing. The late guest arrives 10 minutes later, all apologies and rushed explanations I don't hear clearly. He's younger than the others, nervous energy barely contained. I bring the additional chair from storage, position it at the table where Manager Cho indicates, between Jae-hoon-won and the silver-haired man, slightly offset. And something in my chest goes cold. Wrong. I don't know why. Can't articulate it. But the angle is wrong, the proximity off by inches that suddenly feel like miles. It's the same instinct that wakes me when Elena's breathing changes in the night. The same hyper-awareness that notices a fever before the thermometer confirms it. The new guest sits, adjusts his position. His right hand disappears below the table. "Mama, when something feels wrong, you should say something, even if it's scary." Elna's voice, from 2 weeks ago, when she told me about the older boy at school who made her uncomfortable. The advice I gave her without thinking. My hands are gripping the water pitcher so hard my knuckles go white. This could cost me everything. My job. The tips I desperately need. The reference that keeps me employable. But something is wrong. I move before fear can stop me. 3 steps to the table, my hand on the new guest's chair back. "Excuse me, sir. I need to adjust the seating arrangement." Every face turns toward me, including Jae-hoon-won's. His eyes meet mine for the first time in 3 years of invisible service. Dark, sharp, surprised. Actually seeing me. "The configuration isn't safe for serving," I hear myself say, voice steadier than it has any right to be. "Please, if you could move here instead." I guide the late guest 2 seats down, creating distance, changing the angle entirely. The room is silent. Jae-hoon-won is still watching me, his expression unreadable. I finish adjusting the settings, bow, and leave the room on legs that barely hold me. In the corridor, I press my back against the wall, hands shaking so badly I have to clasp them together. What did I just do? 30 minutes pass, like hours. I serve other tables on autopilot, smiling mechanically, pouring wine without tasting the labels I recite. My hands have stopped shaking, but my pulse hasn't steadied. Through the paper screens of the private room, I catch fragments of conversation continuing normally. Low voices, occasional laughter, the clink of silverware on porcelain. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe I just humiliated myself over nothing. Maybe I still have a job. Saybell! Manager Cho appears at my elbow, his face unreadable. Back office, now! My stomach drops. This is it. I'm fired. 3 years of perfect invisibility destroyed in 3 seconds of inexplicable panic. I calculate frantically as I follow him. How long until I find another position? Whether Mrs. Chen will wait for payment, if I can make Tuesday's rent with what I have saved. The answer to all of it is no. Manager Cho opens the office door, and my rehearsed apology dies in my throat. Jae-hoon Won stands beside the desk, still in his suit jacket, his expression carved from stone. 2 men flank him. Security, obviously, with earpieces and faces that reveal nothing. On the desk between them sits a small black handgun. My vision tunnels. Sit, Manager Cho says quietly. I sit because my knees give out. Jae-hoon Won studies me with the same intensity I've watched him apply to contracts and conversations, and I finally understand what his associates must feel under that gaze. Like every secret is visible, like invisibility was only ever an illusion. Why did you change the seating arrangement? His English is perfect, unaccented, each word deliberate. My mouth is dry. Something felt wrong. Wrong how? I can't explain it. Can't articulate the maternal instinct that reads danger in angles and proximity. That knows when something is off the way. I know when Elena is lying about brushing her teeth. The position, it wasn't safe. One of the security men speaks in rapid Korean. Jae-hoon Won doesn't look away from me. Do you know who that guest was? He asks. I shake my head. A hired assassin. The weapon was concealed in a jacket holster, positioned for a close-range shot. He pauses, and something shifts in his expression. Not quite warmth, but recognition. Security footage shows that your repositioning disrupted his angle completely. By the time my team identified the threat, you'd already neutralized it. The room tilts. I wasn't trying to. You saved my life. 4 words that change everything. Manager Cho is staring at me like I've grown a second head. The security team watches with new assessment, some measuring me as something other than furniture. I've been seen, and I suddenly understand that invisibility was safety. What happens now? My voice comes out smaller than I want. You're under my protection, Jae-hoon Won says simply, as if this is obvious. Effective immediately. My spine straightens despite the fear. I don't need protection. His eyebrow lifts slightly, the first real expression I've seen. The organization that sent him will know someone interfered. They'll want to know who. I'm nobody. I just moved a chair. You stopped an assassination. His tone allows no argument. You're no longer nobody. Terror crystallizes into something sharp and cold. What have I gotten Elena into? Mrs. Chen is watching a Korean drama when I get home, the volume low, her reading glasses perched on her nose. She looks up with her usual warm smile. She was an angel tonight. $8 dinner, finished homework, only asked for you 17 times. She gathers her purse, pats my arm. You look tired, ya? Too many hours. I'm fine. Thank you, Mrs. Chen. I pay her the $20. Wait until I hear her apartment door close across the hall, then turn all 3 deadbolts and slide the chain lock into place. Elena is asleep in her bed, one arm wrapped around the stuffed rabbit she's had since she was 2. Dark curls spread across her pillow, face peaceful in the glow of her nightlight. I watch her chest rise and fall for a full minute before my own breathing settles. She's safe. We're home. Everything is normal, except my hands are still shaking. I shower, change into sleep clothes, check the locks again. The windows too, third floor. But I test them anyway, making sure they're latched. My phone sits on the counter, silent. No messages from the restaurant. No calls from unknown numbers. Maybe Jae-hoon-won's protection means I'm actually safe. Maybe it means I'm in more danger than I can comprehend. I lie down on the sofa bed without pulling it out, staring at the ceiling where paint cracks spiderweb across plaster. Sleep doesn't come. Every sound in the building makes me tense. Footsteps in the hallway, someone's door closing, the elevator grinding to a stop on another floor. I replay the moment over and over, my hand on the chair. Jae-hoon-won's eyes meeting mine. The gun on the desk. A hired assassin. I stopped a hired assassin by moving a chair. Somewhere around 4 a.m., exhaustion finally wins. Morning arrives too soon. Elena's alarm chirps at 6:30. And I drag myself upright, start the coffee maker, begin the weekday choreography we've perfected. Cereal and orange juice, her favorite shirt that I washed last night, the endless search for matching socks. Mama, you have shadows. Elna touches under my eyes with one small finger while I braid her hair. Just tired, baby. Did you bring cookies? Guilt twists. Not this time, I'm sorry. It's okay. Mrs. Chen had ice cream. When I open the apartment door to walk her to school, I nearly trip over the envelope. Thick, cream-colored paper. No name on the outside. I usher Elena back inside, tell her to brush her teeth again, and open it with shaking fingers. Cash. A thick stack of $100 bills that I'm afraid to count. And a note in precise handwriting. For your courage. JW. I count it anyway. $3,000. So $3,000 I need desperately. For rent, for childcare, for the electricity bill I've been putting off, for Elena's winter coat that's getting too small. $3,000 that feels like a chain. My pride says to return it. To refuse this debt, this obligation, this acknowledgement that I did something that matters to a man whose world operates in violence and shadows. But Tuesday's rent is $340 short, and Elena needs new shoes. I slip the cash into my dresser drawer, beneath the folder of bills I can't quite pay. I keep it, but I hate that I have to. Monday night, I return to work. The moment I step through the service entrance, I feel the difference. Jin-hee glances at me, then quickly away. The kitchen staff who usually call out greetings focus intently on their prep work. Nyoa manager Cho nods at me with something that might be respect or might be caution. I can't tell which is worse. I tie on my apron and check my section assignments. Table 12 has been occupied for 40 minutes by a man in a dark suit who's ordered nothing but coffee. He sits with his back to the wall, eyes scanning the dining room with mechanical precision. When I approach to refill his cup, he barely acknowledges me, but I catch the earpiece, the bulge under his jacket that can only be one thing. Security. Jae-hoon-won assigned me a babysitter. Anger flares hot in my chest. I didn't ask for this. Didn't agree to being watched, monitored, followed like I'm some kind of asset that needs protecting. I pour the coffee with more force than necessary, and the man doesn't even blink. I try to fall into my normal routine. Serve tables, I smile politely, be invisible. But invisibility is gone. I feel eyes on me constantly, awareness prickling across my shoulders. At 9 p.m., I leave to pick up Elena from the after-school program. The car appears 2 blocks from the restaurant, a black sedan that maintains exactly 3 car lengths behind me on the bus ride, then follows as I walk from the stop to Elena's school. My pulse kicks up. I tell myself it's Jaehoon's security, not a threat. But how do I know the difference? Elena comes running out with a drawing she made, something with purple flowers and a smiling sun. I take her hand, kiss her forehead, try to act normal while my eyes track the black sedan now parked across the street. Different car, different driver. Maternal panic overrides everything else. I march across the parking lot, Elna's hand gripped in mine. The driver's window rolls down before I reach it. A young man with sharp eyes and empty expression. "My daughter is not part of this," I say, voice shaking with fury. "Ma'am, we're here to ensure—" "She's 6 years old. You stay away from her school." His expression shifts to something almost sympathetic. "Ms. Menendez, the rival organization identified you within 12 hours. They know your name, your address, and your daughter's schedule. We're not the ones you should be worried about." Ice floods my veins. Elena tugs my hand. "Mama, who's that man?" "No one, baby. Let's go home." We take the bus. The sedan follows. When we reach our apartment building, I notice immediately. The door to our unit isn't flush with the frame. I always pull it tight, check it twice. The gap is barely visible, maybe a centimeter, but it's there. I tell Elena to wait in the hallway with Mrs. Chen. Push the door open with my heart hammering. Someone has been inside. Drawers pulled open, closet disturbed, papers on my tiny desk scattered. Nothing stolen. This wasn't robbery. They were searching, looking for information or leaving a message. They know where we live. They know about Elena. This is real. I call the number on the card the security detail gave me. My voice doesn't shake when I say, "Someone was in my apartment." Jae-hoon Won arrives 20 minutes later. Not security, not an associate. Him, personally, in a black car that purrs to a stop outside my building like it belongs in a different universe than this neighborhood. He climbs the 3 flights of stairs without hesitation, his expensive shoes on our stained carpet, an incongruity that makes my chest tight. Mrs. La Chen has Elena in her apartment, distracting her with cookies and cartoons. Jae-hoon surveys the damage with the same focused intensity he applies to everything, methodical, missing nothing. He makes 2 phone calls in Korean, then turns to me. "Pack what you need. You're leaving." "This is my home." "This is a crime scene." His voice is calm, absolute. "They've been inside. They know your patterns. You can't stay." The apartment door across the hall opens. Elna appears, rabbit clutched to her chest, Mrs. Chen hovering behind her apologetically. My daughter's dark eyes go wide at the stranger in our living room. "Mama!" I move immediately, positioning myself between them. But Jae-hoon Won has already stopped, his entire demeanor shifting. He looks at Elena, really looks, and something crosses his face that I can't quite name. Understanding. High calculation. Something almost like recognition. "You're not just brave," he says quietly, still watching my daughter. "You're a mother." Elena peeks around my hip. "Who are you?" "A friend of your mother's." He doesn't crouch, doesn't move closer, respects the boundary I've created. "She doesn't go anywhere," I say, voice fierce. "Whatever this is, whoever is looking for me, she stays out of it." Jae-hoon's eyes meet mine. "Neither of you do, not until this is resolved. That's non-negotiable." "Everything is negotiable." For the first time, his mouth almost curves. Almost. "What are your conditions?" We negotiate standing in my ransacked apartment while Elena clutches my hand. Separate sleeping arrangements, my own space, autonomy over Elena's routine, the right to leave when the threat is eliminated. He agrees to everything without hesitation, and that scares me more than the break-in. The secure apartment is in Koreatown, 4th floor of a building with cameras and a doorman who nods at Jae-hoon with recognition. 2 bedrooms, modern kitchen, windows that lock with mechanisms I don't recognize. Furniture that looks barely used. Elena thinks it's an adventure, explores each room with wonder, tests the beds, discovers the television is bigger than our whole kitchen table. I know it's a cage. Night falls. The strange bed is too soft, the sounds all wrong. Elena tosses beside me, unable to settle. "The walls sound different," she whispers. "I know, baby." Are we safe here? I hold her close, humming the lullaby my mother sang to me, feeling her finally relax against my chest. A soft knock. Jae-hoon Won stands in the doorway with a mug of warm milk, honey swirled into foam. I heard... He stops. My mother used to make this. He kneels beside the bed, holds the mug where Elena can see it. His voice drops to something gentle, almost tender. It helps with sleep in new places. Elena takes it with both small hands, studying him over the rim. Thank you, Mr. J, he says. You can call me Mr. J. Something in my chest cracks, just slightly, just enough to be dangerous. 3 days pass in careful distance. Jae-hoon's security team operates from the second bedroom, laptops and monitors tracking surveillance footage, phone records, financial transactions. They're hunting the insider who leaked information to the rival organization. I hear fragments of conversation in Korean, see the tension in shoulders that never fully relax. I maintain strict boundaries, separate rooms, minimal interaction, polite distance. I make Elena's meals in the unfamiliar kitchen, help with homework at the dining table, create routines that feel like normalcy, even though nothing is normal. But Elena has no such walls. She's drawn to Jae-hoon's quiet presence, the way she's drawn to puzzles and questions, curiosity without fear. On the 4th morning, she wanders into the living room, where he's reading reports, and simply stands there until he looks up. Yes? Do you have any books? By afternoon, there's a stack on the coffee table. Children's stories in Korean with English translations, bilingual picture books, a collection of Spanish folk tales with illustrations that make Elena gasp. How did you... I start. I made a phone call. He says it like it's nothing. Sound like conjuring a library in 3 hours is ordinary. That evening, I find them on the couch together. Elena curled into the corner, Jae-hoon reading aloud in careful English, his accent more noticeable with the children's prose. He stumbles slightly over chrysanthemum, and Elena giggles, repeats it back to him with exaggerated precision. Kurasin samayom, he tries in Korean, and she dissolves into laughter. I watch from the kitchen doorway, conflicted. This man is dangerous, operates in a world of violence and control, has upended our entire existence. But his hand turns pages gently, his voice softens for the dialogue. And when Elena leans against his arm, he doesn't pull away. He looks up, catches me watching. Our eyes meet across the apartment, and for a moment, neither of us looks away. Later, after Elena is asleep, I find him on the balcony. The city spreads below us, Los Angeles lights blurring into constellation patterns. You're good with her, I say quietly. She's easy to be good with. Silence settles. Comfortable, almost. Her father? He asks, not demanding, just asking. Gone, since before she was born. The old shame tries to surface. I push it down. He didn't want the responsibility. Jae-hoon's jaw tightens almost imperceptibly. You've done this alone? 6 years? I've had no choice. He turns to face me fully, and in the ambient light from the living room, his expression is impossible to read completely. But I catch something. Respect, maybe. Understanding. Now you do, he says. Do what? Have a choice. He pauses. You don't have to do this alone anymore. It's not a proposition, not a demand, just a statement of fact. I'm delivered with the same certainty he applies to everything, and something in my carefully maintained walls shifts, just slightly, just enough. On the 6th day, I ask to see the security footage. Jae-hoon's lead investigator, a man named Min-woo with silver-rimmed glasses, looks skeptical. But Jae-hoon nods once, and suddenly, I'm sitting at the dining table with a laptop, scrolling through grainy restaurant footage from the week before the assassination attempt. What am I looking for? I ask. Anything unusual, Min-woo says. Patterns that don't fit. I've been looking for patterns that don't fit since Elena was born. Fever rhythms that signal infection. Behavioral changes that mean she's coming down with something. The slight shift in her voice that tells me she's lying about washing her hands. I know how to see what others miss. I watch the footage 3 times. The 4th time, I pause. There, I point at the screen. That server. He looks away right when the private room host reviews the seating chart. Minwoo leans in. Kim Dae-shim, he's worked there for 2 years. Watch his hands. We replay it. Kim's glance toward the chart is brief, but his phone appears immediately after, angled carefully below the bar. He photographed it, Jae-hoon says from behind me. I didn't hear him approach. Maybe. I scroll forward. And here, he leaves through the back entrance at the exact time the chart was finalized, 30 minutes before his shift ends. The room goes quiet. Minwoo makes 3 phone calls in rapid Korean. Jae-hoon pulls up a chair beside me, watches me work through more footage with an attention that should feel intimidating, but instead feels like validation. What else? He asks. I find 2 more inconsistencies. Small things, moments that feel wrong. A delivery driver who lingered too long. A manager's meeting that shifted timing unexpectedly. You see patterns? Jae-hoon observes. I see when things don't fit. I close the laptop. It's a survival skill. It's more than that. By midnight, Elena has been asleep for hours, and we're still at the dining table with takeout containers scattered between laptops. Minwoo left an hour ago to follow up on leads. It's just us now. The apartment quiet, except for the hum of the refrigerator and distant traffic. Jae-hoon attempts to use chopsticks on lo mein, fumbles, and a noodle falls onto the table. We both stare at it. Then I laugh, genuinely laugh, for the first time in a week. His mouth curves. Actual smile, small but real. I usually have people who handle the chopsticks, he says dryly. That's tragic. I hand him a fork. He takes it, shaking his head, still almost smiling. Then his expression shifts to something more serious, more curious. How did you know? He asks. About the seating that night. What made you see it? I think about how to explain maternal instinct to someone who's never had to rely on it. How watching a child teaches you to read danger in angles and proximity, to sense wrong before you can articulate why. Mothers notice everything, I finally say. We have to. When your child's safety depends on catching what others miss, you learn to see differently. He studies me for a long moment. I'm beginning to understand that. 2 weeks in the safe house, and routines take root despite my resistance. Elena now calls him Mr. Jay, without prompting, runs to show him her homework before showing me, asks his opinion on which socks match. He brings coffee each morning before I'm fully awake, always with exactly the right amount of cream, no sugar, in a mug that stays warm in my hands while I watch the sunrise through unfamiliar windows. I find them at the kitchen counter one afternoon, Elena perched on a stool, while Jae-hoon writes Korean characters on scrap paper. Sarang, he says, and she repeats it carefully, tongue catching on the unfamiliar sounds. What does it mean? Love, he tells her, and his eyes flick to me in the doorway for just a moment. We fall into domesticity I never intended. Shared meals where Elena chatters, and Jae-hoon listens, with the same attention he gives security briefings. Movie nights where we argue over what 6-year-olds should watch. Board games where he lets Elena win at Candyland, but never condescends. My walls are cracking. I feel it happening and can't stop it. Wednesday night, Elena wakes screaming from a nightmare. Something about shadows and strangers. I stumble from bed exhausted. 2 nights of broken sleep catching up. Before I can reach her, Jae-hoon is there, sitting on the edge of her bed, in sleep pants and a t-shirt I've never seen him wear. I've got her, he says quietly. Go back to sleep. I should protest, should insist on handling my own daughter, but exhaustion wins, and I collapse back into bed, listening to his low voice through the wall, singing something in Korean that sounds like a lullaby. When I wake 3 hours later, dawn creeping through the blinds, the apartment is silent. I find them in the living room. Elenia curled on Jaehoon's chest, his hand protective across her small back, both sleeping in the blue television glow. His head tilts against the couch cushions, glasses discarded on the side table, face peaceful in a way I've never witnessed. Something in my chest breaks open completely. I stand there watching them, this dangerous man and my innocent daughter, and understand that I'm in trouble deeper than any rival organization could cause. He stirs, opens his eyes, finds me watching, doesn't move, careful not to wake Elena. Later, after I've transferred her back to bed, I find him still on the couch. "You didn't have to do that," I say. "I wanted to." His voice is soft. "She's remarkable, like her mother." I should leave, go back to bed, maintain the distance I've worked so hard to preserve. Instead, I sit beside him. He turns toward me, and I see the question in his eyes, the same question I'm asking myself. His hand lifts to my face, thumb brushing my cheekbone with devastating gentleness. "Sable." I kiss him before fear can stop me. It's tender, tentative, terrifying. His hand cups my jaw, and I taste coffee and something sweeter. Feel the careful control in how he holds me, like I'm precious, breakable, chosen. When we pull apart, my heart is hammering. "This is a terrible idea," I whisper. "Probably." His forehead rests against mine. "Are you going to stop?" "No." The call comes at 2 a.m. I hear Jaehoon's voice through the wall, sharp, controlled fury in Korean that needs no translation. When silence falls, I find him on the balcony, hands gripped on the railing, shoulders rigid with tension I've never seen in him. "They found him," he says without turning. "So, the insider?" "Who?" "Park Jin-woo, my logistics coordinator. 8 years with me." His voice is flat, emptied of emotion. "The rival organization paid him $200,000 for the seating chart and security schedules." Betrayal from someone trusted. I know that particular wound. Elena's father promising forever, then disappearing before the pregnancy test was cold. What happens now? I handle it. He still won't look at me. "You should go back inside." I step closer instead. "You protected me. Let me be here for you." "This isn't..." He stops. "You don't want to see how I handle this." "Maybe not, but you're not doing it alone." He finally turns. In the ambient city light, his face shows cracks in the composure, exhaustion, anger, hurt he's trying to bury. Seeing him vulnerable feels like witnessing something forbidden. "I've planned retaliations before," he says carefully. "This is what my world looks like." "Then show me." We spend the next 3 hours at the dining table with Minwoo and 2 other security specialists, reviewing options. Jaehoon wants the confrontation public, sending a message to the organization about consequences. I listen, observe, then speak. "Public makes you look reactive, emotional." I tap the surveillance photo of Park Jin-woo. "You want him isolated, private, where he has to face exactly what he gave away." Jaehoon's eyes sharpen. "Explain." "Bring him to the restaurant, the private room where it would have happened. Make him sit in your seat and understand what he sold." Minwoo nods slowly. "Psychological." "Effective," Jaehoon corrects. The confrontation happens 36 hours later. I insist on being there, Ji watching from the adjacent room through security monitors. Elena is with Mrs. Chen, carefully extracted from the safe house for an adventure day that keeps her safely distant. Park Jin-woo enters the private room confused, sits where directed, realizes too late. I watch Jaehoon's face on the monitor, cold, precise, devastating. The conversation is in Korean, but I understand the cadence of judgment. When Park tries to stand, security blocks him. When he tries to explain, Jaehoon lifts one hand and silence falls. It ends quickly. Park is removed. The room empties. I meet Jaehoon in the corridor. He searches my face, looking for fear, disgust, retreat. "You're not afraid," he says, something like wonder in his voice. "I've been afraid my whole life," I tell him. "Afraid of eviction, of not having enough, of raising Elena alone. This is different." "How?" I take his hand, still tense, still carrying the weight of what just happened. "Because I'm not alone anymore, and neither are you." His fingers tighten around mine. "No," he agrees quietly. "Neither am I." The alarm system triggers at 3:47 a.m. I'm awake instantly, maternal instinct overriding sleep. Jaehoon is already moving, phone to his ear, voice clipped in Korean. Through the bedroom doorway, I see security monitors flashing red. "Sable, get Elena. Bathroom, now!" I don't question, don't hesitate. Elena is already stirring, confused, as I scoop her up with her rabbit, run to the windowless bathroom, lock us inside. My body shields hers completely, hand over her head, the way I'd protect her from falling debris. "Mama, what's—" "Shh, baby. Quiet game. We're playing the quiet game." Outside, I hear footsteps. She shouts. Something crashes. The violence is quick, efficient, terrifying in its precision. Gunshots, muffled but unmistakable. Elena flinches against me, and I press her face into my shoulder, humming desperately to cover the sounds. Then silence. Eternal, suffocating silence. A knock on the bathroom door. "Sabil, it's me!" Jaehoon's voice. I unlock with shaking hands. He fills the doorway, suit jacket gone, shirt torn at the shoulder, a cut above his eyebrow bleeding sluggishly, but alive. Whole. His eyes sweep over us, checking for injury with clinical speed. "You're safe," he says. "Both of you. It's over." The living room shows evidence of the breach. Overturned furniture, broken glass, 2 bodies being removed by his security team. But the path from bathroom to bedroom is clear, deliberately shielded. Elena never has to see. I get her back to bed somehow, hands trembling, voice steady. Sing her back to sleep with a lullaby that catches in my throat. When I finally emerge, Jaehoon is on the couch, being treated by a medic who's cleaning the cut. "They're done," he says quietly. "The rival organization's leadership is being handled as we speak. There won't be another attempt." I nod, try to respond. But the adrenaline is crashing, 3 weeks of held fear suddenly collapsing, and my knees buckle. He catches me, waves the medic away, guides me to sit beside him. "You're safe," he repeats, hands gentle on my shoulders. "Sabal, you're safe now." And I break. All the terror I've been holding, from the first moment I moved that chair, through the break-in, the safe house, watching him confront betrayal, and now this. It pours out in shaking sobs I can't control. Can't stop, don't want to stop. He holds me, just holds me, one hand cradling my head, the other steady on my back. I've never let anyone hold me like this, never let myself fall apart in someone else's arms. "Mama!" Elena stands in the doorway, rabbit dragging, eyes wide with concern. I try to pull myself together, but Jaehoon shifts, makes space, and she climbs between us. His arm extends around us both, protective and sure. "Is Mama okay?" she asks him. "She's safe," he says, and his voice carries absolute certainty. "We all are." "We." The word settles into my chest like truth. We're not separate anymore. Not him protecting me, not me surviving alone. We're a we, and I'm not afraid of it. 2 days later, Minwoo confirms what Jaehoon already told me. The threat is eliminated. The rival organization's leadership has been dismantled. The remaining members have no interest in pursuing a vendetta over a failed assassination. We can go home. I stand in the safe house living room, looking at 3 weeks of accumulated life. Elena's drawings on the refrigerator, my coffee mug on the counter, the blanket on the couch where Jaehoon and I sat last night after she fell asleep. What is home now? Stay, Jaehyun says from behind me. I turn. He's in shirt sleeves, glasses on, looking less like the untouchable Mafia boss and more like the man who reads bedtime stories in 2 languages. Not in hiding, he continues. With me. Choose it. Fear rises sharp and immediate. I've survived alone for 3 years. I won't lose that. Won't become someone who needs rescuing. You've been alone for 3 years, he corrects quietly. Survival isn't living. Sable! Mama! Elena appears with her rabbit, sensing the tension. Are we going back to our old apartment? I don't know yet, baby. She looks between us with 6-year-old directness. Can we stay with Mr. J? My heart cracks. Elena, it's not that simple. Why not? Because I'm terrified. Because depending on someone means they can leave. Because choosing this feels like giving up the independence I've fought for. What are your conditions? Jaehyun asks. And I remember this negotiation. Us standing in my ransacked apartment, bargaining for safety. This time, we're bargaining for something more. My own space, I say. Not your apartment? Mine. My name on the lease. Agreed. My own income. I won't be kept. The restaurant still needs servers. Or something else, if you prefer. Autonomy. Over Elena's schooling. Our schedules. Our lives. Of course. He steps closer. I don't want to own you, Sibel. I want to know you. There's a difference. Is there? In your world? In our world, he says, there can be. The apartment he shows me the next day is in a better neighborhood. Not wealthy, but safe. 2 actual bedrooms, updated kitchen, a building with security, but not surveillance. The lease is in my name. The deposit paid, but the monthly rent is something I can afford with restaurant wages. Not a gift, he explains. A partnership. We stand in the empty living room, Elena running from room to room exploring, and he asks the question no one has asked in years. What do you want, Sibel? For you, not for Elena. What do you actually want? I've spent so long only considering survival that desire feels foreign. I pause. Let myself feel it. I want to be seen, not as a single mother or a server or someone who needs saving, just seen. I see you, he says simply, and I believe him. Okay, I whisper. Okay? We'll stay. We'll try this. Elena's delighted shriek echoes from the bedroom. Mama, I have my own closet! Jaehyun's hand finds mine. We're choosing this. Not forced by danger, not trapped by necessity. Choosing. I returned to Hanguk-gwan on a Friday evening, 4 weeks after I changed a seating arrangement and everything else. The moment I walk through the service entrance, I feel the difference. Jinhee's greeting is warmer, more careful. Manager Cho nods with unmistakable respect. The kitchen staff, who once barely acknowledged me, now make space when I enter, offer greetings I'm expected to answer. I'm no longer invisible. I tie on my apron, check my section assignments, and see the notation. Private room, 7 p.m., party of 1. Jaehyun Won sits at the table where an assassin once tried to kill him, reading something on his phone. He's early, as always. When I enter with water, he looks up immediately. No pretense of not noticing, no performance of my invisibility. Good evening, I say professionally. Sabel, my name in his voice, here in this public space where I once served him without acknowledgement. I pour his water, take his order, move through the familiar choreography of service. But when our eyes meet over the menu, everything is different. He sees me completely, not as help, not as the woman he's protecting, but as the person he chose and who chose him back. I'm no longer invisible, and I'm not afraid of being seen. After my shift, we pick up Elena together from the new daycare, secure but cheerful, with teachers who know her name and artwork covering the walls. She runs to both of us, rabbit in one hand, a painting in the other. I made a family! She holds it up proudly. 3 figures in front of a building, drawn in purple and green and gold. Jaehoon kneels to examine it seriously. Is this us? Uh-huh. That's you, that's Mama, and that's me. And that's our building. It's perfect, he says. We walk to the restaurant nearby, the Korean-Mexican fusion place Elena loves. She chatters about her day between bites of bulgogi tacos, and Jaehoon listens with the same attention he gives everything, asking questions that make her light up. Under the table, his hand finds mine. We walk home together after dinner, Elena between us, holding both our hands. See skipping over sidewalk cracks and singing something she learned in daycare. The evening air smells like jasmine and approaching autumn, and the streetlights paint everything in warm amber. I realize I'm not invisible anymore, not because someone powerful noticed me, but because I chose to be seen. Later, in our apartment, ours now, lived in and real, Elena sleeps in her own room with her own closet. Jaehoon and I sit on the couch, his arm around me, my head on his shoulder. Thank you, I say quietly. For what? For not making me choose between independence and love. He shifts to look at me, thumb brushing my cheek. You saved my life. I owed you everything. I shake my head. This isn't debt, Jaehoon. This is choice. His kiss tastes like promise and certainty and the future we're building together. Not because we have to, but because we want to. Yes, he agrees against my lips. This is choice.